Well, we are back. Joshua Jempel here with Enrico Posamai. If you just joined us, you missed the first part of the action. Proba-V has been successfully separated by Vega. But not to worry, 2 more satellites remain to be sent into orbit. Our second and third passengers, VNREDSat-1 in 7 minutes, and ESTCube-1 at about 10 minutes from now. Enrico, give us a recap of everything that's happened, will you, since 23 hours local time?
Yes, so after liftoff, Vega headed for the North Pole, made half a round on Earth, injected Proba-V into its orbit when it was above Australia. We followed all the activity thanks to the Perth downrange station. A third burn of the AVUM slowed down the launcher into a new inclination of the orbit. It's as the launcher was going down a kind of slope to join a lower altitude, the altitude of 680 kilometers for the VNREDSat and ESTCube satellite. The speed will rise until 7.65 kilometers per second as the altitude will diminish with respect to the Proba-V orbit. The next step will be the separation of the VESPA structure
Coming up in 2 seconds.
Yes, in order to free the satellites.
Séparation de la partie supérieure du système de lancement double Vega.
And right on time, coming up is on the VESPA separation.
Yes, and then the AVUM stage will maneuver to point correctly the satellite before releasing them.
All right, you can see VNREDSat exposed to the elements now. That's the silver box. We know all this information because we're being tracked by the downrange tracking station in Saskatoon, which acquired the signal about 3 minutes ago. Saskatoon sees separation of the VESPA, which we just saw, and the 4th AVUM ignition and extinction, and then the station will also see separation of VNREDSat and ESTCube-1. Now, how does separation happen? We have a clamp band system. Is it like on Ariane 5?
Yes, it's the principle. It's as the SILDA one. You know, it's a.
The SILDA is the carrying structure that allows Ariane 5 to have a second passenger, like VESPA allows Vega to have another passenger.
Yes, as its name, VESPA, Vega secondary payload structure, and so it allows to bring another mini satellite inside the structure itself. The separation of the VESPA is achieved by means of this clamp band. And it's in order to open the 2-half shell in order to free the satellites which are inside. The band separates the VESPA along an horizontal plane at a mid-level of the cylindrical part.
Well, that's like the Ariane system, roughly. It separates into two halves, I think, as well.
Yes.
The 4th AVUM ignition will be burning for another 30 seconds, roughly. And what's going on now, aside from the similarities between the separation systems of the SILDA in Ariane and the VESPA for Vega, we're also in sort of a ballistics phase, I guess you could call it, right? Where we have ignition, and then for a period we don't have ignition.
Yes.
How would you explain that?
But
in between the satellites, we have to maneuver the composite into different orbits, different
altitude and different inclination of these orbits.
Que les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
On Ariane 5, we can only aim only one kind of orbit. It's for that reason that on Ariane 5, when you have 2 satellites, they are always both on
geostationary transfer orbit, right? GTO, if you've heard that.
Exactly.
But that's not where we're going tonight. In GTO, we have to go towards the east.
Yeah.
Tonight we go towards the north. We're in the 2nd to the 4th AVUM ignition, by the way. So we're in another powered phase. Now for guidance, the AVUM is using clusters of thrusters for roll and attitude control. Now that's what the Ariane does, but the Ariane in the Ariane version of the ballistics phase, there's no power. Tonight we have power.
Yes, AVUM, it's a reignectable engine, and he has also its attitude and control. It has its control system. You know, we have the principle is the same in Ariane 5 on Vega, but we don't use the
Perte normale de la
same
télémesure
gases.
lanceur
On
par la
Ariane
station
5, we
d'hébergement.
use the gaseous hydrogen for to use for the thruster, and here on Vega for the AVUM, we use only hydrazine propelled system.
All right, we are out of the fourth AVUM stage burn. We have about 2 minutes before separation of VNREDSat. We think we have time for the quiz question, then I'll ask you a little bit about your job. You want to go to the quiz question? You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, see if anybody can get this.
Let's
Let's play along. If you win, you get a big prize. Concerns the new leadership at Arianespace.
Yes.
Very timely. All right, are you ready out there? See if anyone can get this. It's not really that hard. Arianespace quiz question for Vega flight number 2. How many people have been at the head of Arianespace? There haven't been that many.
No.
Question again. Tonight's quiz question for flight Vega second flight. How many people, men or women, have been at the helm of Arianespace since the company's inception in 1980, and who are they? Think you have an idea of the answer?
I've got a clue.
You've got a clue. Hold on to it. If you do, we will give you the answer in just a minute. But for now, as we're coming up on VNREDSat separation, in under a minute, again, a moment of concentration and focusing here, even though Proba-V was successfully delivered almost an hour ago now. And many here in Jupiter, including yourself, Enrico, you've been in this sort of situation before, I would say even many times. You've lived through this sort of situation. How would you describe the atmosphere down there with the technical people?
Yes, everybody is very focused on the success of the mission, so every technician and engineer is focused that on every system is working well and ready to correct something that is not working as well or normally.
So, all eyes and ears waiting. We should have confirmation in just a few short seconds of separation of our second passenger for Vietnam.
Séparation VNREDSat-1.
There we are, right on time. You see, pushed away again by the system. And you can hear the applause.
La trajectoire est normale.
Everything is normal. VNREDSat-1's launch comes 1 month after the official announcement in Hanoi of this year, 2013, as the Franco-Vietnamese year. Now, Enrico, give us the descriptions, as you did for Proba-V, of what's going to happen now that she's separated.
Yes, but before that, I want to say that anyway, the TENS this evening will continue until the end of the mission, until the orbitation of the AVUM.
Yes.
And not only after the release of the different satellites. So let's come back to the LEOP of VNREDSat. The spacecraft will deploy its sun panel about 1 hour after the separation, and it will be switched into a sun acquisition mode. You know, once the power generation is okay, the transmitter will be powered on, and then when you will fly over the station of Kiruna, we'll see.
That's in Sweden.
Yes, exactly, and we will see that about 3 hours and a half after the separation. And the day after, the spacecraft will be switched on the normal mode, and all the payload will be powered on. For the following week, the correction maneuver will get the perfect altitude and orbit for the operational activities.
In just a minute, we'll have separation of SQ1. You can see that. That's the tiny little white square on top of what's left of the Vega launcher.
Yeah.
On top of the fourth stage there, weighing 1.3 kilos.
Yes.
Project began, so that's a little one. Project began in 2008. SQ1 developed with the Finnish Meteorological Institute and with the German Space Center, the DLR. Finland, we are told, invented the propulsion system of using electrically charged particles emanating from the sun, which is what ESTCube-1 is going to study. It'll be the first proof of this concept. CubeSats on the first Vega flight last year were the first CubeSats ever to be launched on a European launcher, of course. Vega's first flight launched CubeSats from Italy, France, Spain, Romania, Poland, and Hungary. Romania, Hungary, and Poland were the first satellites ever launched for those countries, like Estonia tonight. And the CubeSats from Spain, France, and Italy, there was one from Spain and 2 from Italy, were the first CubeSats from those countries. Tonight, of course, Estonia, waiting for separation of our final passenger, I would say in about 30 seconds. The CubeSat's interesting because CubeSats, for a long time, they were very popular in the U.S. and Japan, but not really active in Europe. So Vega was seen as a chance to give Europe an opportunity to catch up.
I think it's a good choice because it allows us to fulfill some very good educational objective for a university student.
Get them involved in space affairs, conceiving their own project, building it, led, of course, overseen by ESA.
Yes, and they understand what means develop and test a new technology, some things that after is being built.
So hundreds of students in all involved in these projects. We're waiting for confirmation.
Séparation ESTCube-1.
And we just had it.
Yeah. That's a great success. I'm happy for all this client.
There's the final good news and a lot of applause. Vega delivering her third passenger. Cigars and champagne will be forthcoming as Vega performing flawlessly.
La trajectoire est normale.
ESTCube will unfurl a 10-meter single-strand E-sail. There's some happy people there, or tether, testing, as we mentioned, their new propulsion system. In 5 minutes, the power will be up. They'll have their preliminary system checks on the satellite. In half an hour, the radio antenna will be deployed and communication with Earth can begin. 10 minutes after that, the radio beacon will be activated and we'll have our first message. This is when they will know if the launch has been really successful. In 2 days, the satellite's beacon becomes active to determine the satellite's health, and we get our first camera pictures in about 5 days.
Yeah.
And in about 10 days, beginning of the main mission, which is, of course, tether deployment. The tether will be electrified and measurements will begin. Again, ESTCube-1's mission to experiment for electrical use on future solar sails. And as ESTCube-1 is the first Estonian satellite, the project will be used to put in place the nation's infrastructure for future space projects, as well as to form a generation of space engineers. So you see the smiles, the mood, very buoyant here in Jupiter, all across the Space Center, at all the points and posts where the people are working or following the launcher and their satellites. This is the ELV group. Your compatriots?
Yes, all Italian.
Prime contractor of Vega?
Yes, from Colleferro.
Work is just beginning or will soon be at the different ground stations and the centers around the world where the satellite's first maneuvers are being monitored. We're waiting for the speeches. We'll be hearing from Stéphane Israël and Jean-Yves Le Gall and some others. Did you get to answer the quiz question while we're waiting for the gentlemen to come out? Answer the quiz question. How many people have led Arianespace?
I think that if you consider also Stéphane Israël, there are 5 people.
You sure about that answer?
Yeah.
5. That's your final answer.
Yes.
You're right. Congratulations. 5 people. Can you name them? Frédéric Dall'Est, the founder.
Yes, it's the first one.
Charles Bigot, Jean-Marie Louton, who came from ESA, Jean-Yves Le Gall, and Stéphane Israël. Well, congratulations. If you got the right answer, give yourselves a round of applause. And Enrico will send you his check for €2, since this is the second Vega flight. €2.
Okay.
All right, well done. We're waiting for the post-launch speeches. We'll be hearing also from ESA, Antonio Fabrizi. The gentlemen will be shortly making their way out to the fishbowl. I see Mr. Fabrizi at the podium. He looks like he's ready. The next voice you will hear will be Antonio Fabrizi.
Can you hear?
Of ESA.
So, dear guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, here at the Jupiter, in the center